Hello.
Hey guys, we got a first round match. Apparently I lied to everyone.
Yep.
38 people.
38 people came out today. A lot of new faces were out there scoping it out. A lot of familiar faces, but community going. We're thriving pretty good, and we're really excited to bring you 6 rounds today.
Right. And you may say, Blake, why are you going, 38? Well, that's one more round, one more grueling matchup everyone's got to get through. One more pretend that Lexi isn't strong enough yet, or maybe she needs another card to get over these guys. We do have a barn burner for round 1, though.
Oh, yep. We're excited to bring you round 1 being Zachary Wallach, AGE champion, and Craig Pollack, also former AGE champion.
Nice.
Facing off in the classic matchup we saw recently in Pro Tour, which is Dromai versus Oldhim. This will be an exciting one to see from a different perspective of 2 different pilots, but at the same skill level, and see how they approach it.
We've got both their faces very well lit up. I had no idea. Our timer's struggling a little bit, but we'll figure that out. Most of what I'm wondering is Craig going to play this aggressively? Is he going to wait around? What he's not going to do is play any yellows because he doesn't have any.
No, Guardians never play yellows, and if they do, it's like Remembrance and like one other yellow card.
That's what I'm worried about. Is there is no Remembrance in Craig's list, so I'm assuming there is no long game. This is, hey, I saw. I don't know if he was inspired by what happened in the finals of that one tournament, but it's like maybe we can just go punch Dromai in the mouth, and she won't be able to do what she wants. Important stuff on Zach's side is Ghostly Touch, though.
Ghostly Touch is pretty key into this matchup for beating Oldhim. He has a lot of 6 attack cards, and can pop your dragons fairly easily. So the Ghostly Touch will be able to maximize your use of dragons and build up a bigger hand that comes down and slaps them at the end of the game for like a 22 usually.
And I think what's interesting about a round 1 matchup against somebody that's this good and against a deck that's going to require a lot, we're going to get full brain power from these guys. We see some water going into Zach. Craig's probably already hydrated. So I'm expecting this, instead of being like, oh, I was just really tired after 5 rounds, this is going to be a full-on battle.
Oh, yeah, this is mentally fresh. These people, round 1 is super important most of the time for your bracket run, because if you lose round 1, then it's like, well, we got to win the rest of them in the secondary. So these can often be, I think, the most tense games because you're so fresh, you don't want to make any major mistakes.
But just be different and have a sigil in turn 1.
Super solid, and pitching to Furnace to start that Ash generation. Dromai needs to have Ash in the bank in order to create her dragons.
I think what's interesting is we didn't push the button the 3rd time, because there's no way this is a yellow sigil of souls. I don't know what happened over there.
Hell no.
I think they got to keep moving though, because this isn't a untimed round. This is a game that's going to be moving fast.
Most definitely. These are a longer games, not necessarily based off of one style versus the other, but just a lot of counters on each side and having to respect each player's response, whether it be a dragon, Oldhim clearing it, or whether you trying to attack with a priority dragon and not have it get popped by Oldhim. A lot of micro decisions made in this game, but I'm really excited to see these pilots navigate through it.
I love that Adam is one of the people that works here. He's one of the owners. He's like, I remember this game. I haven't been playing for a while.
Going to Magic events and places.
But he takes the full disable because he's like, I got better stuff going on in my hand. Enigma Chimera is very interesting because that's not going to have go again.
It is a blue one. It's just a 6. I'm pretty sure it's only a couple of these he runs in the list.
3 of those.
Yeah. I think that's pretty standard, but just going for the generic 6 attack, continuing to build his Ash presence, up to 3 Ashes now, just based off the way he pitched that. So I think he's waiting to like a big Ash turn where he can generate a bunch of little.
A big Ash turn.
Big Ash turn, dude. So you can
put that on a t-shirt.
Big Ash turn. But he just wants to build that up, and so he can go wide enough to pressure Oldhim without getting popped right away. We're going to see coming out of Craig is going to be like Glacial
Footsteps.
The red one.
Gets rewarded with a 10 damage punch in the mouth there. I think you definitely...
Does Zach say I take it?
If he takes this, I don't know what's going on with Zach. Because he took a disable and did nothing afterwards.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if there's some Dromai counter brain play where you're like, actually, I'm setting up a late game strategy here.
Health is a resource. Zach had the defense reaction in Arsenal, making the block a little better. only gonna be leak like 2 or 3 damage
It'll
from
be,
this.
yeah,
Uh,
10 minus 3 minus 4, be down to 3.
Yep, correct. Still good chip damage, but not as much as he hoped. Zach the Wallach always having an answer for those big attacks. That's how he got that nickname. Um, Man, he's really good at arsenaling those D reacts when he needs them. Going up Ash to Rake Embers, so he's going to get some and lose some, making 3 Marvel Ash Wings.
And I think if you're just not aware of Dromai, or if you're not aware how Zach plays into our friend, the Grandfather of Eternity, I think Zach is going to go the game plan of, I would like to build up 7 or 8 of these Ash Wings.
Yeah.
And then anytime my opponent maybe doesn't have 2 poppers, if I have a Chromai, or just somehow don't have a popper in the late game, they've got a bunch of ice cards, we are going to just overrun them with Ash Wings, 2 turns of like 7 Ash Wings at once.
Now, here's an interesting. Are you supposed to be bringing Rampart into the draw match? I'm not as familiar. I'm not an illusionist or guardian player, but I know there's always some kind of controversy on what shield to bring on certain matchups.
I do think I would like to block Kyloria easily 3 times a game.
Okay.
So maybe that helps a little bit of maybe make your hand worse those couple turns. What is a ice? What are they called? Frostbite out of nowhere from the ice shield gonna do?
Yeah.
Maybe it stops a breaking point. I don't know. Nope, there's no breaking point from Zach.
I think that all depends on the list. Like if it was against Mara's list, where it's more aggressive, more low to the ground, more red line,
Right.
Stalagmite might have been a better option because it can disrupt those turns.
Right.
But I think Craig knows Zach well enough to know that he usually does a traditional kind of build up the board list, so he can take his time with the Rampart.
And I think one thing that maybe we just said was, oh, what he's gonna do is build up 7 to 8 Ashwings and then hit you twice where you don't have poppers. Well, at the very beginning of that Ashwing turn, you could 2 times per game block with Stalagmite and just block 7 dragons, basically, if there's not a go again plus a pitch. So that is a thing where maybe if you know this is his game plan, Stalagmite just, oh my god, I did not expect that, and now I have to play around that the entire game and make suboptimal plays.
Definitely these small decision points, though, are get micro advantages over the other player. And this is where you really see, I think, the knowledge of the matchup shine. Craig bringing the Rampart. Chokeslam coming in against Zach, kind of thinking about it a bit. It doesn't affect him too much. Chokeslam will make it so your cards can't gain attack from anything. So Zach doesn't have anything that buffs attacks, but he just kind of wants to survive from the damage. We have 3 cards here.
Dominia hitting the bricks here. I think it just makes, okay, I'm not going to line strike for 7. Like, that's the only thing that really says in there. That's going to be a full block.
Craig was floating too, so maybe Zach was just trying to be cautious around Pummel. Thankfully, he had a dragon in arsenal ready set up. Zach pulling from his second pile of dragons that are Marvel, so he doesn't have to take the card out of the sleeve. First dragon coming out is a big one.
Right. And if we're building up a kingdom of dragons, this is the first step of, it's going to make everything behind it better. If you do not Titan's Fist this dragon, everything's going to snowball you. So I'm expecting next turn, Craig's going to take a turn off and just hit Maragai. And then Zach has basically 3 turns of Maragais that can give him a little bit more room. And then set up a dust. What are they called? The dust from the Red Desert. Like
with the Vinny.
Like everything that Zach's doing is basically putting Craig into, are you patient enough to beat me? Are you disciplined enough to beat me? Mm-hmm. And I think Craig is one of the people who can say yes to that all day long. So it'll be interesting of what does Zach do to set up, like instead of drawing these hands perfectly, maybe all these people are also setting up for a second pitch stack?
Most likely, I think both of them are trying to be optimal into their second pitch stack of the game. We're still in the first quarter. None of them have broken 30 health. We know Zach runs healing, and Craig is just going to be an absolute wall of to chip through. Zach did have 3 Ashwings to begin with. Now 2. Those Ashwings are really where you're going to be leaking damage because you don't always pop them if there's a bigger dragon. Craig did clear the big dragon that was already out, passing back the turn. Now Zach has an opportunity to create more Ash and create more Ashwings, making it hard for Craig eventually to clear like 5 of them, maybe even 6 of them.
And I think the damage of, oh, here's 3 with go again, you can't really just like, okay, we're going to use one of our best defensive options to block this. It's like the thought process of what Dromai does is a 1 for 3 and go again is not damage that you can just be like, oh, that's not going to matter because eventually, and then here's another one, 0 for 4. Yep. It's like we're getting cards out of your hand, and then pretty soon you don't have enough stuff to block my dragons afterwards. it can start a snowball, even though they're dragons.
Craig probably kind of regretting using the sink a little early here. The sink would have perfectly covered, but it seems like the Crown of Seeds also perfectly covers for him. Getting a Terrace Thunder out of Craig's hand is pretty big. That's disruption from him. Zach doesn't have to worry about a Terrace Thunder on a big attack anymore.
I think what's interesting about this hand is we played everything that's not a dragon and pitched the dragon. So eventually, when we get 12 turns from now, when the timer says 8 minutes, he's going to get to a hand where there's 3 dragons.
Yep.
And he's going to put all 3 dragons in a row.
Correct.
And it'll be like, oh, crap. Not able to deal with this as Oldhim. Unless, does Oldhim have Inland Strike going on?
Seeing big cards out of Craig. That's the Spinal. That's the Terrace Thunder. This would have been a big turn for Craig, but he's choosing to block as Zach has been able to apply enough pressure here with only having three Ash Wings, but 3 red cards that had go again was really big into getting Craig's hand thinned out. Craig pitching.
We're just killing an Ash Wing. I think that's very interesting. If Craig's going to be very healthy this whole time, but if he's blocking with Spinal Crush, like what is he going to do the last 31 damage with?
I think Craig right now is just trying to stabilize the board. He understands here if Zach starts getting ahead, that can be bad for him. Keeping a high health lead is important here.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is going to be a long game.
And we have like a pass from Zach of like, I'm going to put out my best Ash and then just go.
From the Red Desert. For anybody who doesn't know, Ash in the Red Desert is often a new auto-include for most illusionists. What it does is it takes away Phantasm for one dragon specifically, and that dragon has 6 attack, and if it hits, it does another 3. So that's the big one that does a lot of damage into...
Saragai.
Yep, and Saragai, or Vinny, as the Dromai kids call her.
I do think, like, okay, Craig, how much damage do you have left in your deck? And I know we've only been playing for 6 minutes, so I'm being kind of like, what's going on here? But, like, I don't like blocking with Spinal to avoid, like, Dust Up getting one more dragon. And then after you block with that, hit one more dragon with your Titan's Fist. Like, if there wasn't basically a put my best combo piece down by Zach and pass, Craig could have just gotten overrun there. But now he's facing 10 damage. So, like, or this will be an 8 damage glacial, I think. Like, it's going to work out here, but I was like, that was terrifying for a quick second.
It's definitely showing the matchup knowledge, Craig, knowing how to manage these dragons. And that's, I think, the key to his success. Not, like I said, not having too many of them go too wide to the point where he can't clear them. At max, he clears, like, one on his turn always, right? Because you have a popper, and then you swing your Titan's Fist. If it gets too wide, you see a Oasis from this dominated attack. Perfect. Zach still at 31, being the wall, having answers for exactly the things he needs.
That was dominated. Interesting. So I think what's going on here is we're waiting for Vincerikai.
Yep.
And then that's going to be a power turn for Zach. Because it's going to get 2 cards out of Craig. And then what can you do besides that? Where it's gross enough where Craig would maybe have to block instead of just cleaning up the Vincerikai that hand.
It's amazing to me that I've seen these couple turns go on now. Like we're in like his third, fourth, fifth hand right now. They're still pretty much at the exact same health they started with on turn 1, which is to be 39 to 31. Both players being really firm and waiting for that all-in moment like we're talking about, waiting for that opportunity for them to be, okay, here's how much damage I have. Can you match it? Are you going to take it all, or are you going to block and give me tempo?
And I think that's kind of a losing battle for Guardian, because it's like your all-in as Guardian is like your best attack plus a pummel.
Yeah.
And so Zach's best thing is dump 4 dragons and do 12 and then have board presence and also ruin your life. So
yeah, it's
do it all again next turn.
It's definitely a hard knowledge matchup, in my opinion. Knowing exactly how much damage you have in your deck, how to pressure the Dromai effectively, not wasting your card economy, because Guardians often like pitching to their hammer to make it so they don't lose cards, or pitching 3 cards for one big one, making it really hard to fatigue them out because they're always getting such value putting back into the deck.
And I think the biggest, the thing that is going to happen is one time Craig is going to pitch for an attack that's going to require 2 blocks from Zach.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like, does it get pummeled or whatever? That sleight of hand will be very important when that comes down.
It's definitely true. Craig has to set it up right now. Craig putting 1 in Arsenal. He's kind of have a bit of an off turn, just putting some pressure on Zach, which is good. You can't let you can't let the person you're playing against get too much free reign. Eventually, you're gonna have to swing back. You can't just play defense. So I think he's doing a good job of keeping pressure on Zach. Zach down to 26. Not enough dragons on board, but we do have the red dust. 2 counters on ghostly touch. He still has a long way to go to finish this match, and 40 minutes left.
Right. I think we should breathe for a second because
Okay.
I think they are kind of like, we're talking about a lot of potential in this game or what could happen soon.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of games are like this in Flesh and Blood. Of like, normally you can play the 4 cards in your hand, to your best of abilities, and kind of like get by or use your leverage to get them by a little bit. But I think this is one of the matchups where you can't really just go, well, how am I doing right now?
Yes.
It is kind of like, I need to save this and hope for the best and still be ready to go for the next 12 turns. And like, some of these dragons don't seem that scary, and like, maybe I could just take what are they called? Take an arcane and a couple physical. But as soon as you do that, it is like, when the big ones come down and you don't have your full 40 health, it is very scary.
They definitely accelerate the game, start ripping health, and armor pieces. Tumultai is another big one. If Zach can see a Tumultai soon, that's going to change how Craig has to approach this matchup.
Because I think Tumultai is coming for a Crown of Seeds.
Tunic, or can you do Rampart?
I mean, it's an equipment.
Yeah, I think you can do Rampart. So a lot of options. I don't know the right answer, but Zach will definitely show us what he thinks is optimal as Dromai to blow up as Tumultai.
I just was like, as we were talking, I was like, like, I think it does. Take your breath of like, this is a 40-minute extravaganza coming up of like, what sucks is these people are going to play extremely well.
Yep.
And we're going to be narrating the whole thing, and we may still miss of like what the actual moment is that won this game just because of how Dromai works.
It's very true. We might, just because we're not Illusions players or Guardian players, though, we can't give insight how we think the game state is going, at the moment.
Well, I mean, we've seen these heroes, but it is like more of like Dromai is doing so much extra stuff
Right.
that like, oh, how did you get something out of the claws or clutch out of the jaws of death or whatever? It is something of like having a dragon, having the Phantasm Dragon show up right before Kyloria that gets me the other card that gets me enough to pitch Vincerakai to put on my Ash is something that's both planned for, and if it's serendipity happens,
Correct.
goodbye, Craig.
Just drawing all the cards in the right order, and that's another big thing when playing against you players like Zach or like Craig. I've done it before, and they know what you're pitching too. So while you're playing that game in the back of your head, like, I want to draw these cards in the right order, I'm going to pitch them in the right order, then so they know what's coming up, and they might pitch something like Craig might pitch a at the same time a Channel Lake Frigid, which might mess up your combo and things like that. So it's just a different level when you get to, I think these players' knowledge of the game is like they see it in a different dimension. It's not just the first opening hands, but it's the mid-game second cycle. It's the, how many cards left do I have in the deck versus how many reds versus blues. These people will account for that. We're going to have another dust up here. Zach got 6 Ash.
Sweeping blow. That's
Sweeping
even
blow,
better because it has go again, so there will be more stuff. But like 6 ashes is great because he's never going to run out.
Right.
The second that ash is crazy though, because maybe there's a time like what we're saying of what is Craig's best attack? Probably Spinal with a red pummel on top. What is the best thing Zach could do? He could wait until he has 2 Vincerakai and 2 blues and just dump them both with those ash. Do something where Craig would have to block 12 or take a bunch of arcane, and Craig's not going to be able to block all of it and swing back to kill only 1 Vincerakai instead of both. I think that's maybe what Zach is playing for, maybe just based on how he has his ashes played, of like that. He's not saying it, but kind of what he's doing with his cards. That's what I think is happening.
Oh, here's the Tumultai coming out into the big dragon. Let's see what Zach chooses. He has to reveal, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just grabbing both of these because he did them simultaneously.
Yep, so he makes it so it can't be popped, which is great, with the Mist Dragon. And then now he's going to attack with the Tumultai. It's not going to have Phantasm because
looking for 2 reds off the top, too.
Any responses from Craig before it resolves?
Use your crown before it's gone forever, bro.
On the layer, Craig responds, uses crown. As Blake said, it most likely will be the target for this tumultai, so why not use it before it's gone? And it will absorb 1 extra point of damage from the ward effect.
And it kind of sucks because Tumultai has 5 health and Titan's Fist does not go to 5.
Does not go to 5. It is gonna. He will have to commit a whole attack action card. 1 blue, 1 red.
So crown can still go. Maybe he's like, no, I want this arcane choose. Tunic would work too. He is going to take his time to look to the graveyard because I think this is a very important decision of how to shape the back half of this. It is a whole thing of if I take away your crown, now my 0 for 4s are good.
Yep.
He's deciding to go after the tunic to prevent the I can pitch 1 and grab a card from my helmet.
He had a staunch for the tumultai. Very interesting. Chat, would you have done the same? Would you have gone for the crown or the tunic? Definitely like to hear feedback, what you guys typically do as Dromai players. But I think the tunic is an interesting one to hit. It's going to ruin a lot of value for Craig over time. It makes his 2-card hands even worse now.
But he's got the 6 to kill the dragon.
Got the CNC, a classic, kills the dragon, but it's okay. Looking at the list here, Zach did come prepared to play against Oldhim. He has 2 remembrances in. I'm wondering if he runs both of them currently in this matchup or not. I imagine he would.
What's interesting, he only has 1 Uvia, and then Necria is not chilling in here. So I think he was looking at the list. I remember just chatting with him. He was like, am I about to play 3 Uvia and 3 Necria? And go full dragon control like some of those lists were. Shoutouts to the person who got 9th place, Ian Zhang. They were talking about his list. This is Sweeping Blow, probably this is Billowing Mirage.
Billowing Mirage, yeah.
Billowing Mirage number 2, I think. This is something where just put a 3 block and hope for the best, Craig.
Zach seems to be pitching his dragons and burn them all from what I can see. And also, like for instance, there's a sigil pitch. So Zach's really playing for this second cycle explosive, comeback. He's playing all his red cards that generate ash. He has 2 Vinny ashes. He has 4 normal ashes.
Right.
So he's really setting up for that big turn. We have not even begun to see the Empress of Volcor.
And it's like, why would you not play that sigil? Well, sigil when it goes back in your deck. At least he already has a red with go again this turn, so he can give his dragons go again, blah, blah, blah. That sigil will help him do that later. You see passing Mirage, so it's now like, Craig, good luck. Like, this is looking like Zach had enough time to establish everything, and now Craig's going to need basically a Titan's Fist board wipe that doesn't exist.
Yeah, he's definitely getting outrun. Once you get past to the 3rd big dragon, it gets really hard to manage. Craig going not for the dragon, but for the aura. I think that's correct. I think you want to get that aura out of there as fast as possible. It eats up a whole turn. Maybe you draw something with go again. Maybe, let's see.
Yeah, get the aura first, so if there's any, there's
no go again. He's not
Enlightened Strike in there.
He does have Rouse the Ancients, but I don't know if he would
God.
use that to do anything.
He's going to have to rouse this Yinderai with a endurance counter, with a Yinderance counter.
Another option would have been Zealous Belting. He's not running it currently, but it's another thing that Guardians have been using to deal with wide boards.
Right now, Zach looks like he's playing the piano too. Of like, I'm just getting all my stuff going. He's tinkling these black keys. We're gonna
this dragon piano. He's making all the dragon noises.
And Craig is like, please stop touching Like, what is this board state? We're gonna block 1 from our tunic. Or no, what is this called? Block 1 from the helmet, block 1 from the
no
shield.
More tunic, man. You need to get the 1 block.
Yeah.
You need to get the mana to put towards the shield.
None of these dragons have on hit though, so maybe this is the time where Craig's like, I'm just going to take this damage because I don't want to take damage later. Just kidding. He's blocking.
These players have been playing so fast. We still have 32 minutes left in the game, but you're seeing now the ties kind of shift. Zach is able to establish his dragon board or dragon equity greater than which Oldhim can deal with it. As long as he can maintain and play safe, here's a Remembrance coming in for probably a Tumultai. Yep, Tumultai and some other dragons. All the fun dragons.
So we're going to do this all over again. I think what's interesting too is Craig once again blocked the spinal.
Yep.
So it is like, what is Craig planning on pummeling to get back in this game if it's not going to be a spinal crush? Maybe I'm one-track mind on spinal, but that feels like the best thing to deal with this.
Craig's list is very interesting to me. Craig is running 1 blue pummel. Is running 2 pulverized, 2 red pummels. So his pummel distribution is definitely a bit weird, which kind of changes his damage cap for the turn. It seems like he's playing just a fairly standard mid-range list. Terra Thunder, Thunderquake, Wintergrass, Disable, yeah. And so that list might struggle with a wide dragon board, but might do better into an aggressive dragon board. You know.
Right.
Uh,
We didn't see Craig beat this Maragai up, so maybe he had 2 reds in hand, and maybe that's why he's blocking with Spinal. Because that does not feel good to not even swing a Titan's Fist back across the table. That's a good way to get overrun here, and I feel like when we do talk to Craig in 3 hours about what happened in round 1, I think he's going to go, oh my god, like,
yep.
did not draw my stuff in the right order. I think what's one thing that's fickle about Flesh and Blood, like, I think we talk about other games where it's like, you didn't draw your energy card or you didn't draw your land. For this game, it's 4 reds at the worst time will literally set you back 2 turns, and if you can't get back from those 2 turns, you're just toast.
That's why you got to run Hope Merchant's Hood, and then you never have that issue. Just some Hope Merchant's Hood back, a free mulligan. But yeah, no, that can definitely line up that way. And then that's just card games. That's luck. I think Craig's been playing as best as he can to manage these dragons. You see him popping every turn. You see him swinging a hammer every turn. But without go-agains, if Zach is going to keep lining up those turns where he's able to generate 1 Ashwing, 1 big dragon, then eventually that math will consume you, And now we're seeing 4 big dragons on the board, 2 little ash wings, your ghostly touch counter at 5. It's going to be really interesting to see how Craig is able to finish this out.
And Craig's cycling through his deck using his Crown of Seeds on his own turn just to get a new Arsenal card. He did finally take out the Maragai, so the Mirage is gone. And then it's like back to you, Zach. Like, I think we're just waiting for Zach to draw Vincerakai. And then as soon as he does, it's like, well, this will be game over.
Yeah, Zach is really good at also managing his dragons. Here you're going to see the base vanilla damage for 5, go again. But also, he obviously doesn't commit any dragons unless he has a way to protect them, whether it be the Mirage Eye or whether it be another ways where they can't pop like the red ash from the desert. He's very careful at managing his dragon army. I've seen him go down so low just so he can get to the big dragon army and then just overwhelm you.
Can we count how many cards Zach has on his thing right now? It's like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He's got 6 dragons, 2 ashes, 3 other ashes, an arsenal card, a time snap potion. It's just like,
he's got a lot of stuff.
If this is your first intro to this game, please turn off and try back in 2 hours because I don't want to explain this to new players. But it is like, it's just so much extra stuff of an old man swinging a hammer every turn is not going to be able to do this.
Definitely. Especially if that hammer is not Winter's Well anymore. It's just a vanilla hammer.
Right.
Winter's Well was definitely a bit impactful in this matchup because they run a lot of reds. You can prevent the dragon development for sure. But now with this, it's just vanilla damage and good on hits with ice reacts and earth reacts. But those don't necessarily help you against allies.
I mean, if you ice react against Dromai, I think you just lose. Kind of. That's not enough value of unless you hit their red. But at that point, they've already played a red.
We're still at, like I said, 28 minutes left, 26-33. The game's still wide open here. Craig has plenty of health to give up in order to try and close that lead that Zach's developing right now before it gets too out of hand. I'm really interested to see how Craig sets that up. He's probably pitch stacking with his Crown of Seeds to do a bunch of big turns, but I don't know what the big turn would be like.
What's crazy too, we have 7 ash. So even after all this, Zach is killing it on the ash generation.
Yep.
Ghostly Touch has 6, so that can't be ignored for too long.
Yep.
And then, okay, we killed a dragon. Great.
Perfect.
But then there's still 4 left. And I think killing Uvia was very important.
Super important.
Which I don't think many people have the discipline to do that. And yes, we're talking about Craig playing from a losing position this whole game, but if you don't have patience and discipline, you just lose literally in 10 minutes, in 3 minutes instead of 25 minutes from now. Craig is in the idea of I am playing to every single out I have right now.
Correct.
Which I think is maybe this isn't how Craig wanted to start his tournament.
You got to do a glass half full for sure. And I think he's been managing greatly. He hasn't, I don't think, made any major mistakes or tilted or anything. The dragon, the board that was 4 big dragons before is now down to 1 big dragon and 3 little ones. He's doing a great job of figuring out a way to manage all these dragons that Zach has to now, I think, be a little more cautious when approaching. Rake the Embers red is not something you want to see though, because
No.
that's another 3 small
Yeah.
dragons you have to
Like,
have
oh,
biting your
we're
ankles.
getting rid of the big dragons, and there's not a lot of little ones. Well, now we just doubled them here.
Yep. Man, six little dragons. That's going to start really chipping
Six little
away.
dragons sit on my window, or whatever that is.
Caloria coming down.
Kyloria is a hit effect dragon.
Is 4, has 2 health. Very annoying. Reminds me of like the Lord of the Rings dragon, the smog.
Yes, Smaug.
On top of all the gold.
His name is.
Here you're going to shoot out the dragons 1. Oh, he
Pop
says
it.
I block the first one and I pop it.
I think that's very interesting. Yes, you have a dragon set up, but I'm not gonna let you hit me with 5 of them first.
It's very true. I think right here is you're going to see a lot of expert navigation come from Craig in this matchup, because he could have taken the 5 or the 6 little dragons and waited to pop the big one,
Right.
but that's health, and that health adds up over multiple turns. You need to stop it right away. You need to consistently have poppers, and so his turn ends.
I think Craig, by showing the red glacial footsteps right here, he is saying, by the way, I am now racing.
I am
This
now
is my
going.
only way to win
Yep.
is to get a bunch of these in a row and just hope you don't have it like that.
Yep.
And then Zach going like, okay, like I'll take 6 here, but I have 3 cards and I can do whatever I want after this.
Having one of the bigger dragons come out that Zach
There's
needs, and
Vincerakai.
Vincerakai. This is now an overwhelm of baby dragons just coming on the board. You have
Yeah.
5 Ashwings. You have
This is
Vincerakai
disgusting
with
from
the red
Zach.
dust. Doesn't have Phantasm. You have the Mist Dragon that takes away Phantasm, the first dragon you attack with. So that's
Right.
he has to order this correctly here. So first we're going to do Kyloria,
Yeah.
because the Mist Dragon affects the first dragon that attacks. So he says, I don't
Oh
want you
my
to
god,
pop.
there's a Yenderai down there still
There's
too.
the Enderai as well, correct. Time Snap Potion is also there, if you forgot.
It's like I already used my helmet, so I'll just use a space for a dragon.
Still has 5 Ash. Zach managing this matchup very comfortably.
And
he
this
seems.
is where, like, okay, maybe this is, if you're paying attention at home, maybe this is the exact scenario where I would have rather had Stalagmite, because he doesn't have any cards in hand anymore. And you could just be like, Stalagmite give you an ice. But, like,
Yeah.
I know that the other shield has probably blocked 6 damage at this point.
Yep.
But it's like, that. I think that's where, if you're trying to sideboard yourself of shields,
Yep.
do that math. Okay, the 4 is blocked. Now here's 6.
6 unpoppable. If it hits, an additional 3 damage from it as well. So here's my whole hand. I don't want that to hit me.
And then these small dragons are going to get popped, and he's like, great, I don't care.
Perfect. I think he blocked that as expertly as he can. No damage got through. End of the turn, slowly whittling away at his little dragon army, because those are the real things that win this matchup.
And the fist will immediately kill Vincerakai. That is
Yep,
a
get that outta
no-brainer
here.
mode.
It's okay. Zach has not played the other one yet. Still has another red dust out.
And
so you'll
Zach
see.
follows up with that. It's toasty.
It's going to be hard, but that one's definitely the biggest threat you always prioritize as well.
Maragai's hiding where the helmet goes. I was like, Maragai's dead? No, Maragai's hiding where the helmet goes. There's the other Vincerakai. I don't think this was pitch deck for. I think this is we set up and now it's boom boom.
Well, he couldn't pitch that because he
still in the
remembrance,
first-
and then,
oh,
and then
remembrance.
yeah, it will shuffle up the pitch deck. So this is
job.
definitely just good shuffling technique. Getting the Vincerakai is perfectly spaced.
So the thing we did last turn, we're going to do it all over again. And 2 turns of this pressure probably beats every hero in the game that isn't Oldhim.
Yep.
Oldhim is the one that maybe has options to get around this.
Oldhim, it's hard because Oldhim, you sacrifice with Oldhim is you get better ice and you get some more talented cards, but you also sacrifice dominate, which is like a big thing in the Guardian arsenal for finishing games. You now need to have cards like Macho Grande, Glacial Footsteps. Those are your finishers. But as you've seen him play multiple Glacial Footsteps. I don't think I've seen a Macho yet, and it gets damaged through, but not fast enough because you have to rotate through all those cards.
But something's brewing because Craig just took 4 and gave Zach a card, which I would think is not smart, but he's also wondering, what should I block? This is interesting. I don't understand. I'm not quite sure what they could be talking about right now. We're going to block Vincerakai. That's a no-brainer. We're going to kill that Vincerakai next turn, but does Zach send the full dragon army?
Dromai that doesn't have Phantasm because he has like all the dragons out right now. Name one dragon that's not out besides the
Right.
legendaries.
You can't do it.
Yeah, I think he has every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Frick.
He has 5.
Frick.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage coming through. Massive dragon army just being developed by Zach.
So this is where not only did you have a life lead and you were holding on, your fingers are slipping.
Yep.
And you do not have the harness on right now. So what sucks right now, he has to have, I think what's happening is I want a blue and I want a card to put in my arsenal so I can Crown of Seeds, which feels really bad if Zach puts down any other card right now.
Yep. Zach putting down. We still haven't seen the other major dragon, which was
Dominia was blocked with very early on.
okay.
So Dominia will not be a factor in this game because he did not remembrance it back in either, I don't believe.
He still has a second remembrance though. He is running 2 of them, so he could choose to bring it back if he would like.
He just pitched the remembrance to the bottom, so I don't think that's a part of his game plan. I think he's got his deck the way he wants.
Once again, very impressive. This has been 20 minutes so far. This game I felt like has developed so much over the course of those 20 minutes. Both players knowing their deck very well. You're seeing, I think, peak flesh and blood gameplay from both pilots.
Rake the Embers.
There's your
third
Rake the Embers, the last
Grandpa.
one. But that's 9.
Keep on digging.
That's 9 little dragons he has made. This is to start getting very overwhelming, even more.
Oh
Another
my
Chroma
God.
coming down. You see Craig. Can we go on Craig here real quick?
Yeah, Craig him up.
Let's look at. That's the expression you have, and there's Alan in the back just watching.
It's like Titanium Bobble doesn't make dragons. What? There's other heroes? I could play that and do this.
Craig doing just not having the best time now. He, like I said, his grip was slipping a little bit. We're 2020 right now.
What's that one song from the 90s that goes, rake that thing, bada bada?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of the song.
I think they made it after Zach or whatever. This is disgusting. Like, once again, 1, 2, plus 6, 7, 8, 9 dragons on there. That doesn't even make sense. I did that wrong.
I think there's
6,
more than
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't even have that.
I can't even count them on my fingers. There's so many
Jeez.
of them.
That is true. We haven't even started burning them all yet. I think what's interesting is there's so much. There's not early game for Dromai, obviously. So you kind of need to overrun her, and maybe that's the heroes that can figure this out.
Yeah.
But the late game layers of Dromai is unbeatable if you let her get to this point. If you get rid of all these dragons, I'm going to start burning them all. If I put 3 burn them all downs, you're going to have to pitch a blue to get rid of all this arcane. Mm-hmm. Good luck. You're not going to have a blue in your hand and then also be able to block these with a popper. You're just done. Which Craig's life bar immediately disintegrates down to 12 after all these
baby dragons.
Which he put in 1 stack. That's hilarious.
Baby red dragons. That's what you do with tokens.
Yindarai is I don't really want to pop this because I want to pop the one after.
He's super annoying to get rid of, though, as Guardians because he has the soak 3 up, you know?
Right.
Man, these dragons are doing so well.
It's just Dunzo at this point. Sorry, Craig, for pairing you up against this.
It's probably one of the best piloted Dromai games I've seen out of Zach so far, the AGA series. He's done a really good job every time of just managing his board.
I think what's crazy is don't give Zach any confidence because then it's like you need him to second guess himself.
That's fair.
Or he's going to beat your ass. And like Zach with confidence is one of the scariest people in the room.
Once he gets into a state that he's comfortable with, then you know that he's not going to mess up from there.
But he did pitch Heart of Final, so the comeback is ready to go. We're healing.
All right. That is hard to find. That would be his second cycle because he Oldhim doesn't shuffle his deck. And I remember Craig pitching it pretty early in the game. So we're on Craig's second cycle. Let's see if Craig was able to pitch stack something successfully to come back, or if it from here you just drown in the sea of dragons that is Dromai.
I think what Guardian needs for this is a legendary boots that when it blocks, it uses Phantasm. That'd be sick. Counts as a 6 block.
Counts as a 6 block, uses Phantasm? And boots?
For shoes, yeah.
No. Just the heaviest brick shoes
right now,
possible.
Trent's at home like, yeah. I guess Trent's over there somewhere.
Trent's here. He's playing.
What?
Yeah. Watch out.
No, I'm good. I'm commentating, so I won't play him.
Okay.
Don't worry.
20-7. Drastic. It was 2020 a couple turns ago.
What sucks is we're just basically waiting for Craig to draw cards and hope
Yeah.
for the best this time. But I don't. There's literally nothing that can get you out of this scenario. This is checkmate if you like that one game with.
He just plays a
chess.
dragon, and it just like feels like just another knife, just stab.
Right.
Just like, oh, another dragon.
'Cause she's gonna have 3 action points, so who cares if
Two
you
high
pop
level
these
games.
dragons?
Oh,
This
man.
is gonna get a card out of your hand first with sweeping blow. Make another ash. I think what's
Still have
interesting,
4
and, like
ash.
first style, if he gets cards out of their hand of Craig's hand, if he ghostly touches for game, he's the sickest person in the world.
He pops Dromai, but Dromai gains another action point. And
Yeah.
guess what? He has a second Dromai,
Sheesh.
so you can continue down his path of destruction.
He's beginning to believe.
Dromai again. Zach going all in now for this. Not a popper.
Not a popper.
So gaining the
Craig.
action point back, going in again.
Craig, don't do it. You're gonna go down to 1.
Craig's going to go down solo. I think from here he doesn't
Craig!
have any poppers.
No.
Do you
Just
do you do
doing
the
one
ghostly
at a
touch
time.
for the finish?
Wow.
All right.
Ghostly touch.
Ghostly touch. No ghostly
Whack.
touch.
Yeah, Craig.
It's all good. GG.
I think that's something where Zach's gonna watch that clip at home
Mm.
every time he feels bad. Like if he misses a pharmaceutical
He's gonna
test
come
or
back
whatever,
and he's to be proud about the
he's
game.
gonna
That's
go,
definitely
at least I have this game.
that's definitely a proud game to be.
His kid doesn't get into the what are they called, magnet school in kindergarten. He'll just let me go back to 2023 and look at this match where I just beat Craig by 20 without sweating.
GG definitely. Zach Mashley played for round 1. That was just round 1, and I felt that was a long masterful game. 15 minutes left against an Oldhim Dromai. It's doable, people. We don't need to go to time.
Right, and I think one thing that sucks about what we just saw is I'm trying to tell you guys at home that this is that's the wrong button. That this is a triangle meta, and I
Yeah.
definitely kicked that camera. This is a triangle meta where like Dromai beats Lexi,
Yeah.
and then Lexi beats Oldhim, and then Oldhim beats Dromai.
And Azalea beats Lexi.
That isn't what happened though.
No.
And it is kind of like, if we sit up straight and we really investigate what just happened, like those were 2 people that are the best people in the room on their respective decks. And I don't like if Dromai can do that to the best person in the room. It's like, I'm going to have to, can you build Oldhim where you can do better than that? I don't know.
You're gonna have bad matchups going into any bracket, in my opinion, and that's something especially Oldhim will know, because Oldhim also had this matchup become worse for him as he got things banned for him.
Right.
So LSS will always be balancing those things and be trying to consider those. I think it is a hard matchup, but there are builds that can do better against it.
Right.
I think it's all about the expression in your build. I think Craig brought a very mid-range build. Maybe you put he has like a couple spicy things, like 1 blue pummel, 2 red pummels. But I don't think there's anything really trying to deal with Dromai besides the dominate attacks and like just swinging hammer.
Yeah.
If he had Winter's Well, it might have been definitely a better matchup at some point. But this is just
I mean, 1 frostbite on like 3 of those turns would do that or whatever. By the way, I wasn't rolling my eyes at you. I don't know if you saw that. I was rolling my eyes at our man in the skies. Or whatever. But like, I do think the whole triangle thing that we're trying to say here
Yeah.
is like what's interesting is, okay, Craig's gonna lose to the Dromai, but
Yeah.
maybe he'll build his deck to beat Lexi. Of I'm on your ass, Lexi, because there's some stuff in here where I'm like,
yeah.
what the hell is 3 buckle doing?
Yep.
What?
That's definitely another really cool thing I think
Like,
about the expression and deck building.
Does that
for Fresh and Blood.
hit the?
Buckle?
Does that hit the head for?
I think it does something
her
with
face?
damage. Yeah. Or -1.
Because it let's +1 on our biggest attack and give it dominate, so it's gonna hit. And buckle takes the equipment if it has a thing on it, I think.
I think
So
one on it.
I don't know what that would be for Lexi. It feels like that's a Lexi.
So that's probably the spice he's
Yeah.
bringing towards. He's probably expected some more Rangers. We'll never know unless you talk to him. I'm sure we're gonna go to a break soon. I'm gonna go out there and start kind of investigating more and some of these people's lists and get some more answers on what they expected to see here, why they brought certain things. These are all huge factors when participate. Where'd you get all these papers?
And we'll have a metagame of it. Oh, it's literally happening as I was saying it.
The metagame
What?
just came in, everybody, and we have 7 Azalea. That's not Azalea, that's Lexi, but it's okay.
Oh my god.
5 Katsu,
How crazy.
4 Oldhim. 3 actual Azaleas, 3
Nice.
Dromai, 2 Briar, 2 Dorinthia, 2 Reinhardt.
Why is Katsu such a pain in the ass?
What do you?
I hate Katsu. Well, because I'm trying to play.
You're,
I'm trying to
you're
play
a brute
Reinhardt.
person.
You know.
Yeah, he's not
So-
letting you Reinhardt.
So if you're like, oh, I want to play Reinhardt in this meta, I'm gonna feast on these Oldhim and Dromai. You guessed completely wrong.
yeah, I
My
think
plan for next week's RTN is going to fail.
the RTN would be interesting to see what people truly flesh out. But it seems they're leaning towards Katsu. They're leaning towards Azalea and Lexi as usual. I think Craig being one of the 4 of the Oldhims, thinking that he'd play into Rangers is probably correct here. Just hitting the 3 Dromai, which is part of the triangle. They exist. Dromai does well. You're going to see her in the top tables. 1 Azuri.
My iconic lady in the bottom right. Like what I'm rooting for is these ones to do some damage today.
I'm
Like-
excited to see an Islander. That just spices things up.
The person on Riptide 2 is our favorite, Anthony Pham. So we're gonna figure that
favorite.
out unless he's on 0 and 5 duty later. But we'll get him on.
So the expected meta players did arrive today in droves, but also the one of specialists are here to shake things up and try and make it into that top 8 for Justin's money and for that bounty. If you guys don't know, we're having an extra bonus in the bracket today for anybody competing, sponsored by Savage Land News. We're going to do the highest. Oh, man.
Oh my god.
We're going to have the highest damage done in a turn. Will net you $100 store credit for Collector's Legion. Buy a box, buy singles, they have it all here. And also a custom playmat from Savage Lands News. Go check them out at Savage Lands News on YouTube and on Twitter.
And currently we're at 27. I heard.
27 has been the top high score, and this is damage that has to hit
Was
as
that
well.
Zach with 6 Vincerikai? Oh my god.
So the person apparently did the 27 damage, got it to hit, and then died on the swing back. But it's okay.
So they're going for the money.
They're going for the money, but that's okay. That's why you have these in the bracket. Have a little fun side things to work towards. I'm interested to see how high that damage will go.
Because I think I've heard everyone, if you have an Azalea in your meta, the whole thing is like Azalea's just sitting there like, I have game in hand and I have 40 health. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
And you go 28, and then they go, cool, dominated arrow for 15, and there goes your last 4 health. So
Hurts.
I don't care what you do. Like
Yep,
you're not playing pummel, are you? Who cares? But y'all have fun. We'll see you in another 20 minutes probably for
Maybe.
round 2.
Maybe less, depends how fast. But
Oh.
stay tuned. Check out some of our
minutes.
content in the past. You'll be seeing pop up here. See you guys soon.